Hey gang, Dr. G, Imaginarium. Welcome to my new segment of the channel, Worlds of Imagination. I've got a new fantasy novel published and I wanted to talk to you about it and tell you what I thought about that. Here I'm going to be talking on this series of videos, fantasy fiction writing. Characters, setting, magic, story structure, all the stuff I've learned over the years. Now, full disclosure, I can't claim to be an expert in fiction writing of any kind, at least not yet anyway. However, I do have a fantasy novel that I have managed to publish with Roundfire Press, and it'll be coming out soon. At the end of this video, I'll show you the trailer for it. Up to now, I've published nonfiction, but fiction is an altogether different beast. And I wanted to share with you the ideas, the techniques, the skills in the craft of fiction writing that I've learned on my own particular journey. Publishing a fantasy novel has been a lifelong dream for me. I started working for the setting of this novel some 35 years ago, and I've been tinkering with it ever since. And the craft of writing I've been working on off and on for about 20 years or so. So what is the novel, you want to know? Well, it is called, as I've said, King of the Forgotten Darkness. It's about a traumatized warrior who lives in a paradise free of war. Now, for years, the gates to a brutal and magical otherworld known as Arantir, where he originally came from, have been closed. But one day he learns that one of the family members that he thought was dead is still alive there, at which point he realizes he has to illegally go through those gates and go back to Arantir to awaken long dormant darkness within him. Now, if that sounds interesting, stick around for the trailer. Now, my first question that I want to answer for you here is why fantasy? You know, you might ask, why would a psychiatrist write fantasy? Why would he not write something else, like maybe murder mysteries or stories about therapy and psychiatry, stuff like that? I mean, after all, isn't nonfiction the opposite of fantasy? Well, in my opinion, that's a hard no, because fantasy, as Terry Pratchett once said in an interview, it's the original genre. It's the oldest form of storytelling. Fantasy stories are the kinds of stories that we told ourselves around the fires in the primeval forests of proto-humans, probably. It's a type of storytelling that can really cut through everything down to the heart of what it means to be human, in my opinion. True emotional realities and psychological truths can be expressed in some cases, I think, only through fantasy, because you're unfettered by the constraints of the physical world. In a fantasy tale, you can really show the most profound, soulful, emotional truths of humanity. Now, is it also possible to write silly ego fantasy stuff? Yeah, of course it is. And that's fun. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think the best fantasy, like, say, Lord of the Rings, or any number of other really good fantasies that we'll talk about here, they really express emotional truths rather than merely launch into ego escapism. So without any further ado, let me share with you the trailer for my new novel, King of the Forgotten Darkness. It's part of the first novel of the Raven's Tale series. And if you like what you see, head over to ericgoodwyn.com. I'm going to provide a link below in the description here, and you can check out what I've got written about that and get on the newsletter so you can stay on top of all the updates about this. All right, see you next time.